You're listening to Skate of Thrones, your go-to podcast for dialed-in LA Kings coverage.
Welcome back to Skate of Thrones, your favorite Los Angeles Kings podcast. As always, I'm your host, Casey Kasliner, here on Tuesday night as the Kings sweep the season series against the top team in the NHL, the Winnipeg Jets, winning tonight on Tuesday 4-1. And again, like I mentioned, sweeping the season series, not only sweeping the season series, but only allowing 3 goals against the Jets all season. And, 2 4-1 wins against the Jets on the year, one of which, of course, tonight, one of which back in November, and then one 2-1 overtime win up north, and that was in overtime. And so the Kings get 3 wins over the Jets, 2 of which with Darcy Kemper. The first one was actually with David Riddick. And so a well-rounded showing for the Kings against the team with the number 2 power play in all the NHL, and of course, one of the top-ranked scoring teams in the NHL. And Winnipeg, they're number 3 in the league in scoring. So it just really shows you, how dominant the Kings played, not just tonight, but this season against the Jets. And I mean, who knows? This could be a playoff matchup late, in the playoffs if both teams make late runs, but that's a whole other can of worms. But like I mentioned, 4-1 final score. It was Nick Nixon tribute night for the Kings. Of course, the longtime broadcaster has been the voice for 44 years, and he got a ceremony beforehand. And again, I mean, the Jets have the second-ranked power play unit in the league, and the Kings shut down both power play opportunities they had. The lone goal for the Jets was from Cole Perfetti, who, I mean, I'll be honest, it was kind of a lucky goal. It was, a good goal for him, and he got a lot of wide open space. But it was kind of a dumb play by Quinton Byfield to give the puck away, kind of on a not-so-cerebral shot, and then Cole Perfetti took it pretty much the distance. But the Kings were already up, 2-0 before he scored that, so they still had the lead. But let's just get into these goals for the LA Kings. Going to the lines first, the Kings had LaFerriere back in the lineup. Of course, he missed last game with an illness. That, means, of course, the fourth line having Hellenius in the middle still with Lewis and Malott on the wings. And I just bring that up because, of course, Turcotte and Jeannot still not in the lineup. But other than that, pretty typical stuff for the Kings. I mean, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. I mean, the Kings have been so dominant for the most part these past few weeks, and it's worked. So to open up this game, the Kings would strike blood first, and it was Trevor Moore, his 17th goal of the year. Really good play from him to work in the deflection. He was on the near side, and I mean, Connor Hellebuck is such a hard goalie to score on. He's the best in the league for a reason, and that's one way to do it. I mean, the deflections are so unpredictable, and the Kings knew that. It was a really good play by Trevor Moore. Good to see him get involved. I mean, that's kind of been the main theme of Trevor Moore's season. It's how can he get involved, even when he's not scoring. And, I mean, 17 goals for a guy on the second line, not too shabby, especially on a team that just doesn't score a ton. So Andrei Kuzmenko scored the second goal for the Kings. And again, the Kings just got things started early, and that's what they needed. I mean, against a team like Winnipeg, you have to punch them in the mouth, and the Kings know that. I want to point out one thing, though, on that Kopitar goal. Andrei Kuzmenko with a wonderful play at neutral ice, and I'll bring him up in a moment again because he would have a goal of his own. But Kuzmenko broke up the play in the neutral zone, and that led to Adrian Kempe taking it up, passing it back to Kuzmenko, and then giving it to Kopitar on the right side, who had some space and shot it in himself. And that first line, just the chemistry looks like night and day, honestly. I mean, of course, it wasn't bad before Kuzmenko came, and I think there was a lot of upside with it, especially early on in the season. But I think with Kopitar and Kempe kind of just being at different points, I think having a guy like Kuzmenko to gel them, and it feels like he's playing a lot more focused, a lot more direct, and, really attacking the puck, but also doing a lot without the puck. And I mean, I think Kuzmenko showed tonight his 200-foot ability, and he would show that on the goal that he had in the second period. So the Kings led 2-0 at intermission. I want to gloss over the Cole Perfetti goal for Winnipeg because I already kind of talked about it. It was just a dumbfounded play by Quinton Byfield. Takes a shot right after the Kings were off their own power play, which they did not score a power play goal tonight, but they only had one opportunity. And they did not look very good on the power play, but right off of it, Cole Perfetti actually served the penalty for Connor Hellebuck, who tripped up Kevin Fiala, and he basically scored. Perfetti did. It was just an opportunity for him down the ice, and the Kings didn't get back on defense. But Andrei Kuzmenko had a wonderful goal for the Kings toward the end of the second period, and he broke up a play again in neutral ice. I mean, that was 2 times tonight. He broke up a play in neutral ice. He pickpocketed the Jets' attack coming up that right side, takes it himself, and doesn't overpass. I mean, he had an option to pass to Kempe on that play, takes it himself, and he gets rewarded. And I think that's sort of a theme that the Kings should really look into. I mean, of course, overpassing has been an issue for him this season. They can see that point with Kuzmenko, of course, cashing in on a really nice play, and the Kings would go up 3-1, and that would be their final true goal, as Adrian Kempe did score on the empty net. Andrei Kopitar on that empty net gets his 43rd assist of the year, and Fogel got a point on that as well. And so, really for the Kings, they played their own brand of hockey. They didn't need a ton of shots to win this game. They only had 20, and 20 shots on Connor Hellebuyck, for a lot of teams isn't going to do a lot when, you see his numbers and how good the Winnipeg Jets are as a team. Like I mentioned, one of the best scoring teams in the National Hockey League, also one of the best teams on the road in the National Hockey League. So you knew against the Kings, a team that's so good at home, how that was going to play out. And the Jets had some pretty decent wins. Really good wins against playoff teams heading into this. They were on a 3-game win streak, taking down Washington, who's, of course, the second best team in the league right now, behind only Winnipeg. They took down New Jersey, who's a playoff team, and then took down Vancouver, who, obviously is always competitive. So for LA, a win like this is huge, not just, solidifying the spot in the race a little bit, even though, of course, Edmonton did win tonight over Vegas, which is a huge win for the Oilers to, keep this really tight race going strong. But also, it's a statement when you take down Winnipeg 3 times in a season. How many teams can say they've had that dominance over Winnipeg? The Jets only have 20 regulation losses on the year, 4 in overtime, and they've had now 2 regulation losses against the LA Kings and 1 in overtime. It just goes to show the Kings make up a percentage of the Jets' losses, and it's really interesting just how that works. It doesn't matter until you get to the playoffs. It's a whole new season, and we'll see what happens with LA there. But yeah, we saw against San Jose, the Kings with a really quick response time, and of course San Jose is a much lighter team than the Winnipeg Jets, but it's just one of those things where they're staying consistent and they're playing really well in the neutral zone. We saw that tonight, especially from Kuzmenko. And really, it's a game for the Kings they really can't complain too much about. You put up 4 goals, 3 of which, on fair chances, and they set the tone early. They played great in the first period defensively. Winnipeg had really nothing to go and nothing to show for. The Jets also had 2 power plays, like I mentioned. They didn't look good on the power play at all. And I think, I listened to the Jets press conference. I was actually there, and the Jets said they didn't think they played that poorly, and I agree with them. They didn't play poorly, but I think, when you're playing against a fellow playoff team, a team that's so good on, home ice, I think like the minimum, the bare minimum and the bar gets set just a lot higher, and I think the Jets just didn't really prepare for that. So that's just my observation. But the fourth line as well, obviously they didn't get on the scoreboard tonight, but they did a lot in just kind of being productive, setting up plays. Hellenius had a good look. Jeff Malott had a good look himself. The Kings' fourth line with, the injuries, I thought, this line is going to take a turn for the worse. And it's not like they're cashing in on the scoreboard per se, night in and night out. But, they were setting up some stuff. They had some good passing and some good offensive zone time as well. And so, yeah, you really can't complain much against, in a win like this. I think, of course, you want the power play to be better. The Kings had 1 chance and didn't really have much on it at all. But I think it's one of those games where you take the win, you keep going. And Andrei Kuzmenko, talk about an addition. I talked about him last episode against the Sharks, but he's playing a 200-foot game. He's the reason tonight they win. Without him, I don't think they win this game. I think, the offense was good. It was serviceable. But against a guy like Connor Hellebuyck, Andrei Kuzmenko was the difference, whether it be his defensive play or his ability to streak up the ice with the puck. And again, I talked about it earlier, but his game is translating so well into this Kings offense, especially in the offensive zone and on a first line that sometimes needs to just play simpler, dumb itself down, Kuzmenko as well, a turnaround. He had no points in his first 7 games as a King. Now he has 9 points in his last 7 games as a King. So it just goes to show you he's fitting in. Jim Hiller and company talked about it in the press conference. I mean, he's bought into what they have going on. And it's something they didn't expect at all. It's a pleasant surprise. And, he was certainly a different player on other teams. And I think in the Kings, he's really finding a true home, and we'll see how that sort of transcends this season and goes on to future seasons. But it, is a playoff style game. Anytime that the Kings play a team like Winnipeg, the difference was LA showed up. It didn't seem like Winnipeg fully did. The Jets are a great team. They're a high-scoring team. They're, poised to try to make a deep run this year after a disappointing end of their season last year with a similarly great year in the regular season. But I think LA should be feeling good. That's 28 wins at home, only 4 losses in regulation and 4 in overtime. So, basically 28 wins at home, 8 losses total. But, I mean, these Kings are special on home ice, and I think that's a broken record at this point. I've been saying that all season on Twitter, in my writing, here on the podcast. Everybody's saying it. I mean, I don't know what it is, but the Kings aren't going to complain, and that's why they're extra motivated to fight for home ice advantage. I mean, take a look at last year, right? The Kings had a lot to play for, but at the end of the day, we all knew that them losing toward the end would have been maybe a little bit more advantageous, being able to play a team like Dallas as opposed to, playing in the first round as playing, a team like Edmonton. And so I think the mentality now of of course they were still trying to win last year, but I think, now with a clear goal at the end of the tunnel, I think it's a lot more motivating. Looking ahead, the Kings go on a short road trip to Utah. They'll play them on Thursday, then come home for 4 home games in a row. And that will be some of their last home games. The Calgary game got rescheduled from when the fires were happening to be on April 17th. But Edmonton, Seattle, Anaheim, Colorado at home. I mean, those are not freebies, right? Anaheim has had LA's number at some points. Seattle can be a tough, gritty matchup in the Pacific. We know how good Edmonton has been, recently against the Kings. And then Colorado, had a really dominant win over the Kings recently. So it's a tough road ahead. But the Kings now with back-to-back wins, and they've been playing really well. I mean, the Kings only have 3 losses in the last, 3 weeks or so. Going back to March 8th against St. Louis, coming off a losing streak, they've only lost 3 games to Minnesota, Colorado, and Toronto. And some good wins sprinkled in there as well, beating Washington. It's the Kuzmenko era, beating Carolina, beating Winnipeg. I mean, it goes on. So that's going to do it, guys, for me. The Kings take a 4-1 win against the Winnipeg Jets, sweep the season series. And how about Andrei Kuzmenko with a great night with an assist, a couple of breakups in neutral ice, and a goal of his own, and just continuing his reign in the Kings' first line. Now, let me know your thoughts on this game. Again, thank you so much for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And it's a big week coming up for the Kings, so I'll see you guys in the next one, and have a good day.